Thank you again for joining us. This is the Wellness and Career Preparation for the Dancer webinar series. I'm Danashanti Harter Johnson, and I'll be leading us through our third webinar, Navigating a Virtual World. This topic is very, very exciting, and it can lead you to really, really great things if you want to start thinking about building your online portfolio. Some of the things you want to think about when you're looking at using social media as a tool for dance, you want to think about what is your career path? What do you wish for your future? Are you looking at being in a ballet company? Then you might want to approach social media in a slightly different way than if you're looking at doing this in a commercial field. If you're looking at being in a commercial field, the way that you approach your social media account and the way that you're looking at your portfolio may be different. So start thinking first about what is it that you want to use the social media tools for. What kind of things are you going to do with your career? For instance, if you're looking at using your portfolio and you wish to get into a ballet company, you want to make sure that your technique is very strong before you start putting a bunch of videos or pictures out on social media, because it may actually hurt you if there aren't up to the same standards as other ballet dancers. A lot of ballet dancers are starting to use the tools of social media once they're in a ballet company. And what they can do is they're going to start putting themselves out there for a gig, meaning one time contracts, not a contract for a full length season. But a lot of dancers make extra money in the Nutcracker season or in the summertime, especially either teaching or with dancing in a freelance concert. They also might use it as summer programs that are available. So you want to start thinking about how do you use it to your advantage. If you're in the commercial field, if you're looking to be in the commercial field, you might more frequently use sort of a behind the scenes. What are my auditions like? How am I using social media to talk about myself as well as what does my craft actually look like? So starting to think about how do you bring a little bit of yourself, and how are you creating a really great curated site that really makes someone interested in looking at you. So I've put together a Google site that is a very easy tool to be able to use to create a website within really minutes. I spent maybe an hour working on this site, putting together all the components that I was going to present to you in this webinar. And it was very easy to use. And it's just through Google Drive. If you happen to have a Google Drive, super simple to create your own website. And then you can use it for so many different reasons. So what I'll be doing in this webinar is we'll be going through some simple tools that you can use, iMovie, GarageBand, really thinking about how do you present yourself, or what kind of things can you do to create an online portfolio, and how are you using those things to the best of your advantage. So the first thing is iMovie is a video editing tool on all Macs. You can also have it on your iPhone. It's just there. It's one of the things that's available to you. And if you're on a PC or a different kind of computer versus a Mac, then there are also alternatives on pretty very similar in terms of the way that the format is. And so everything that I'll take you through on iMovie is easily translatable to a PC version. The other tool that we're going to go through is GarageBand, which is a audio editing tool. So as a dancer, as a choreographer, you may want to use some simple music editing. And GarageBand, again, is a Mac program, but there are alternatives on the PC version of things. And you will be able to do some simple edits to music. You can overlay music. You can put together onto a video if you have something that you didn't use music, or your music was slightly off, or if you want to add spoken word to your video. All these things are all possible. So I'm going to take you through a tutorial on both of those things, real basic on these ones, but at least it gives you a good understanding. The other thing it's going to go through is it's going to go through resume possibilities. How do you kind of want to think about your resume, both on paper or on the Google sites like I have taken us through. We also will discuss a little bit of promotion. How do you promote yourself and how do you use social media to kind of promote yourself and get yourself out there? What are the things you want to be thinking about when you're working in that way? And a little bit also about protection and decreasing your digital footprint. So well, those are the fun things that we're going to talk about in this webinar series today. And I hope you get a lot out of it. I hope that it's helpful to what you want to start thinking about when you're looking at a online portfolio and how can you use this to your advantage. So we'll start with the idea of tools. And one of the things that's happening more and more for putting yourself out on the internet is sort of a well curated social media profile. One of the things you might want to do is knowing how to use different editing tools. If you have not done any editing before, these are very, very basic tutorials. They're just really touching the surface. Most tutorial things that are available for free or as a part of your computer or a part of your phone, they're very basic, but they all have the ability to be upgraded to a more professional version if you're finding that you would prefer to have just a little bit more capabilities or you're becoming more interested in editing. So the first thing I'll show you is how to edit briefly a movie type idea or a clip. You may want to use this for choreography. You might possibly want to use it for a reel of yourself where you're promoting sort of the things that you've been doing as far as performance. You could even just use this for a really basic thing you want to put out onto a social media site for some amount of showing off your technical prowess or your the way that you're performing even in class. So we'll take a look at this. I'm going to take you through a short tutorial on using iMovie. And it's highly possible that you kind of know some of this stuff, but what I'm going to do is just do a real quick little edit. And it's really important as a dancer on social media or how you're promoting yourself to have just a really basic idea of editing. There are lots more possibilities as far as editing goes. And I know that the choreography class is actually working on this right now. So this is just a real simple version if you're not taking the choreography class, but you can also maybe be enticed to do that. So first thing you want to do is you have to, you're going to create a project in projects, and then you're going to import media. Okay, so I've imported actually the intro that I did for the last webinar, and we'll just do a real quick little edit of that. So what I would do is I'm going to drop it down here, and you can see that the sound and the video are there. I can also actually increase this with here so that I can be really specific with what I want to do. So then from here, I'm going to start going, okay, I'm going to cut and remove, or I'm going to split into my video, or so on and so forth. So I know that I started with getting myself kind of ready here, and it looks like I'm about to start talking. I can check in. Hello. So what we might want to do is split the clip right here. And I'm going to do that under modify, and I'm going to split the clip. And what I do with that is that basically I could then use this if I wanted to, or I can use this whole chunk and get rid of it. So I'm going to delete that. The other way I could have done that is that I could drag this, and I would do the same thing where I'm going to have deleted some of that. Hello, and welcome to the Wellness and Career Preparation for the Dancer webinar series. So maybe I go here and I decide that I want to, again, split the clip and take out some other things here, and maybe just talk about the panel. So I can, again, do the same thing. I can then move along and delete that. The other thing I can do is I can go in and get transitions. So my other thing is I can add some audio if I wanted to add music on top of this. I could do that. I don't know if I would add ballet music on top of it, but I could do that if I felt like it. I can add a title. So at the very beginning, I have all these possibilities and all these options to add to the beginning or wherever if I wanted a title. So in my titles, I can say example of editing. And I could change this font. I could change it to be on one side or the other. I could change to have it not be bolded, and so on and so forth. I could change the size of it. And again, so on and so forth, wherever I feel like having that. In addition to that, I can change the way that that is happening up here. I can clip it. I can crop the different things, especially I can crop the actual picture if I want, and I will show you that in just a moment. So let's see what this looks like. Hello and welcome to the Wellness and Career Preparation for the Dancer webinar series. So it's possible that with this one, because it has this, it kind of focuses on the words, which is great. But maybe I don't want to, maybe I don't want that one. Maybe I want this one instead. So I can change that. Hello and welcome to the Wellness and Career Preparation for the Dancer webinar series. Yeah, I like that one better. And then same thing, I can actually even change the length of time that I do this. So if I wanted to make this longer and have it last the whole time, if I wanted to have it a little bit shorter, I can also do that. Hello and welcome to the Wellness and Career Preparation for the Okay, so that's one way of adding sort of titles. I can add the same thing to here and maybe give sort of each little idea an understanding of what's happening. You know, you can kind of highlight what this section is about or what this section is about. Then what I can also do is I could add backgrounds. Maybe I would do this at the beginning, maybe I would do it at the end. It's definitely possible to do that. Then the other thing I could do is add a transition. So if I'm keeping this and I wanted to kind of have two different things go on top of each other or make it more of a smooth transition, I could add a transition here. Series. This is our second webinar in this series. Okay, and we can add sort of that transition. So that might be a great spot if you happen to be putting two different videos together, or if you needed to go from one idea into another idea. Transitions are a really great way to do that. So let me show you also this cropping idea. Because I made this one here. Exciting topic. At the beginning, I've put together a whole bunch of possibilities that are available to the dancer. Many people think of a dancer being just that, just a professional dancer. But there's so many more careers that are available with training in dance. So maybe I'm going to split a clip here. And possibly what I would do with this is I'm going to go ahead and crop it. And I can crop in all sorts of different ways. I can crop and make the actual, how that will fit into it. I could also Ken Burns, and if you haven't see what Ken Burns is it kind of does this little shift over. So I can choose where that starts and where that ends. And dance. And I'll take you through some of those so we can get a chance to sort of see what different kinds. And that would then shift as it goes. Okay. I might also do. Okay, and I could also rotate it if I really wanted to. I think probably in this situation I wouldn't do that, but I could. I could also change effects or filters, any of those kinds of things. I could go with. And same with audio. I could change the way that I sound a little bit. Let's see how that goes. Okay, so I can do that there. And then maybe let's see if I take away that audio. With training and dance. A panel of 3 different people representing different. So this, again, this might be a good spot where we would want transitions. Now I'm just showing you different things. So in no means is this like the way that I would want to put together this particular thing, but it is available, it's there, and these are the ways that we can kind of do this. A panel of 3. So you can see that, and then same thing, even like before, we can change this timing to be a bit longer. I wanted to make it a longer transition. A panel of 3 different people. So it kind of comes out of that idea. So after you have finished with your product and you really are enjoying what it looks like, you have your titles, you have whatever you need in it, transitions, any of those ideas that you really like, then you are going to be able to do this to share it. And you have lots of choices with how do you share it. You might want to save it as a file if you're on your own computer. You could upload it to YouTube. You could save an image from it. You could put it right into the iMovie Theater. You could email it to yourself, prepare it for Facebook or Vimeo, and also for iTunes, especially if you're doing the audio idea for that. So from there, basically, you're going to share it. You get a file from there, and then you're able to use that in whatever way you want to. So that's an example of how you would do a very basic iMovie editing idea. There are still, again, lots of other possibilities with editing, and you can definitely go more in depth, but this is a real general, quick, basic way of using editing for a project or to be able to highlight yourself just a little bit more with your work. So the next thing you can do, that was sort of the visual side of things, you could also do um, and edit as far as music. And you may use the music to overlay on top of a movie tutorial, a movie idea. And what you could do is you can do the GarageBand edit, and then you can bring it into iMovie and remove whatever audio, or maybe you don't even have audio in your movie clip, and you can use the other music from GarageBand. So we'll take a look here at this tutorial on GarageBand. Another tool that's a really helpful tool as a dancer or someone who's trying to promote themselves, maybe as a choreographer or as a dancer, is GarageBand. And GarageBand is included on every Mac. It's fairly easy to use. You can find it both on a laptop or desktop as well as on an iPhone. So if you happen to have that, that's great. There are alternatives that are very similar on a PC. So they're very similar and they're pretty user friendly. Most of these things, both the iMovie that I talked about as well as the GarageBand editing capabilities, are sort of a basic version of what you can get in a more pro version. So if you're finding that there are features that you can't use or that you need more of in GarageBand, there is definitely an alternative to that. Some of the basic things that GarageBand is helpful for is cutting music, overlaying, censoring music for appropriateness, slowing music down, depending on the program that you're using. That might cause some music distortion, but you can try to work within the music tempos. Or you can also use another program that might be a little bit better for the changing of music tempos. Basic video soundtrack editing and adding or adjusting music tracks on top of like an MP4 for choreography reel or something like that. You can use it for combining music tracks or boosting your audio, blending your audio. All these are pretty fairly easy within GarageBand itself. So I'll take you through basically a couple of little things: cutting into a piece of music, taking some stuff out, adding two parts of it together to form like a shorter piece is what I'm going to aim to do as just a quick, tiny little tutorial, and with a little bit of music volume adjustment, and then also with a little tiny bit of a slowdown in the music. So when you open GarageBand, it'll come up with like a prompt of which would you like to use. And you can go to new, where I would be here. And then there are prompts that would give you like piano, vocal, guitar. Really, most of the things are okay for basic editing purposes. It's not really the sort of important part. The only thing that might be is that when you're using this one, if I were to pick like a piano, it is going to tell me that I don't have the same kind of capabilities. So basically, the audio, like a vocal or a guitar, is probably going to be the better one to use for just already made music. If you're looking to incorporate spoken word, this kind of audio that I have going right now is what you would want. You can use it for adding loops or also putting in your own instruments, and that's pretty easily, again, done, but I won't specifically cover those things. So from here, if you want to import a piece of music that you already have, you go into your media browser over here. So we have Notepad here. You have the Loop browser here, or you have the media browser. And you're going to go to media browser. Now, this might be slightly different depending on what program you're using or what version you have. This is a slightly updated one, so that is why I have it over to the right, but sometimes you can also find it elsewhere. So I'm going to take a piece of Nutcracker music. Nice, we kind of know what that is. So I'm going to use this piece of music right here, and I'm going to drag and drop it. Okay, and then I can remove this if I want. So basically, I'm just gonna, that's all I have to do is drag it in. I will actually use the two tracks here, so I'm okay with having that one be open. If you want to be able to magnify this, you can double click it and you see it appears at the bottom. but otherwise you're going to be here at the top. Now, when you're working with multiple tracks, the darker one is the one that you will be working with. And so you just want to make sure that if you have multiple things, multiple tracks going, that if you do have more than one highlighted, if you do something like delete, then it's going to delete it all. So you want to make sure that you're being thoughtful about that as you're working. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use just the first little bit. And so this comes up with a metronome when you open GarageBand in this particular version of it. I'm actually going to undo this because it's an orchestral piece, so it's going to change. But if you did want a metronome, that's there, and it is adjustable by the beats and the music. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to go, all right, this is the spot where I want to cut. I'm going to remove the second bit of that scene one. So here at the bottom, I'm going to increase this just a little bit more so I can be a little bit more specific on where I am cutting this piece. And I'm going to go up to the top. And I know with my iMovie one, you couldn't actually see the GarageBand or the iMovie choices up here. You can just see my mouse. So I'm going to actually say it. So mine has GarageBand, File, Edit, Track, Record, Mix, Share, View, Window, Help. Okay. So I'm going to go to the edit and I'm going to split regions at playhead. Okay. And that's where I'm going to be able to split this into two things. And you can see that I've just now removed that. I've been able to put that down below. If I wanted to delete it, I could totally delete it, but I also am capable of keeping it around. So, and actually now that's the one that's highlighted. So I want to see this one. Okay, and I could actually, well, two things. I could either move this away so that's a little further away, I have a little bit of space before that happens, or I could also mute this and that no matter what, I'm only going to have it make sound on the one that's darker. And so you can really check to make sure what you're hearing is what you want to hear. Okay, so basically I can do those different kinds of things. So from here, what I would do is I'm just planning on taking this out until it gets to the other piece of the music. So right about there, where I'm going to split this again. And when you're working with these sort of editing tools, you know, the trickiest part about it is you just gotta kind of keep at it. You got to keep checking and keep thinking about where do you have it. You listen to it, you check it, you repeat it. You listen to it, you check it, you repeat it. Or in the iMovie type situation where you're kind of doing the same, where you look at it, do you like that? The length of that transition, maybe you change it a little bit, maybe you change how they overlay, whatever. So again, I'm going to split this and I'm going to remove this one completely, but I'm going to just double check in that track here. Okay, so that's perfect for me. So what we would do is I'm going to take this and I'm just going to straight delete it. Okay, and I can either go up here and cut or delete, or I can also just hit my delete. But again, I want to make sure that I have only that one highlighted if I want to keep anything else. So I can now move this closer to the other one. Okay, so that's sort of the basic easy cutting into something. Now I can move it. I could have them go right up against each other. For me, what I'm doing is I'm going to overlay them just a tiny bit. So I actually just personally like to see them in two different areas. So I can kind of move this over and see just how much I'm overlapping the sound. That's just my own personal preference, but you definitely can do it within that same sort of track area. Okay. So from here, what I can do is I can take this sort of area and I could do a flex. And what that is that gives me the capability of slowing down the music just a little bit. So I'm going to add just a little bit of a slowdown here. Oh, I don't need two of them. So when you're doing this, basically you're thinking about what are you trying to do with it? Are you slowing something down? Are you speeding something up? And how is that going to wind up sounding? So again, you're going to kind of play with this. You're going to figure out like, how much do I need? What do I want? How is this going to sound? So that's one thing you can do in terms of the slowdown or the speed up. So if you want to just kind of hear that. Right, so it gives it that little bit of a slow down. I probably would go ahead and cut this just a little bit more. So it kind of gives that little bit. I'm sorry, I actually forgot to mute this. So that's why I'm hearing that sound just a tiny bit here, but it's giving that little slow down just a tiny bit. And I could do the same thing at the beginning of the second one if I wanted to. So the other thing I can do is after I've decided to have sort of that slow down spot within my music, I can also adjust my volume. And what I can do here is I see this little volume. I have lots of options here with any of these things that I can use. But the other thing is I can, so I have nothing sort of open there, but what I can do is I can do this and I can create these little dots. And with the dots, I can change the way that the volume sounds, whether it's way up higher or if it's going to be sort of lower. So I'm going to start with this really high, and see, you can even see that from that one dot I've adjusted, it was starting to lower, right? So I'm going to do this about here, and I'm going to start dropping that just a little bit, and I'll drop it further just so that it starts to kind of do a little bit of fade out. Then I'm going to do the same thing with this one, because what I want to do with this one is I'm highlighting this sort of bump sound, not technical term. Sorry about that. I've got my technical term not going here. So I'm going to make sure that I have it sort of highlighted. I want to use that feeling and that lift. And then I'm going to drop it from there. So I'm going to keep my first part higher, and then I'm going to drop it, and I'm going to add another one where I'm going to go up, and I'll get even higher as I continue. Okay, so so you can kind of hear that has that change. This one's a much longer sort of. Okay, and then eventually we get kind of up higher from there. So those are some of the easy, just again, very basic thoughts that you can use for cutting and working with music. I'll kind of show you what it wound up being when I finish this. One thing you want to make sure that you're doing is you are saving along the way. I'm not going to save this one because I did do sort of an example one, but you want to make sure that you're saving along the way so that you don't lose anything. But you also do have the undo feature that if you need to, you can always go back and redo it. Okay, so I'm not going to save this right now. It's going to open me back up. And this is what I wound up doing with that same idea of what we were working on. So again, what I did just a reminder here of what I did was I slowed down a piece of this part. I slowed down a little piece here. I changed that volume on both of those so that it just kind of brought it down just a little bit and then brought it back up, especially at the end. It's giving a little bit more drama to that second part. And then it would finish the way that the music would normally finish. So kind of being able to cut into the piece of music, shorten it quite a bit, and use sort of very selected ideas. Now you can, again, the idea you could use GarageBand for editing inappropriate wordage out maybe, or making things a little bit more how you would personally want them for a piece of choreography or for showcasing yourself as a dancer. So you can use any of these types of tools to do exactly that. Now, when you finish with your piece and you're happy with it, you're going to go to the share. And you have, again, very similarly to the iMovie, you have song to iTunes, you have song to media browser, which would take it right back to where we started this whole thing. Song to SoundCloud, you can airdrop it, put it to music, put it to a mail. You can export the song to a disc, or you could put it on a project or iOS. So I would probably say personally that I would export the song to a disc, and then it's going to make it a iTunes file, and then you can use it also for iTunes or wherever else you're going to go. So that's a brief little, very short introduction to GarageBand, music editing. Again, there's lots of other tools that can be found. There are many other YouTube tutorials that you could go to, but this is a good sort of just starting off basic, how you bring stuff in and how you can cut into music just a teeny tiny bit. So hopefully that was helpful for GarageBand. So those are two types of editing tools that you can use. Again, you can find these on your phone if you have an iPhone, or also many other phones have some basic editing tools like this, either in the movie side of things or in the music side of things. One thing you may want to think about is having a high quality phone if you really want to start sort of promoting yourself online and want to create a profile that is explicitly online. Or you may even want to invest in a DSLR camera or an HD camera so that you can have high quality videos. You also want to think about your framing, on how you're using your pictures or how you're using your movies to make sure that your framing is well done. You also want to think about your lighting a little bit, but you want to give a personal side of yourself too. So, especially the idea of using an online profile, you want to think about how your personal side is also coming out along with the technical side of things. So another online tool is Planoe, and this is for sort of visual planner and a schedule for Instagram. What it does, it allows you to sort of help plan your Instagram strategy and also schedule your posts. So you can kind of schedule them and they will go out automatically. So if you happen to be doing two things at once, like you have an audition, but you also want to make sure that this picture or this video is being put out at this specific time of the day, it will do that and it'll help schedule your posts. So that's one way to sort of help your Instagram platform and portfolio. Another tool is Crowdfire. And this one is also a way to help curate your content. You can schedule your posts in the same way that you had with the other one. You can your check your analytics and manage all of your social accounts in one place. So this one might be good if you are using multiple platforms, and this one is more specific to Instagram. So these are some of the online tools that you can use. You also, again, want to be thinking about what is your framing for your either your photographs or for your video. You want to be thoughtful about what does your background look like, or what are do you look like? What are you wearing? What kind of lighting is hitting you? Are you doing it from the side? Are you doing it from the front? And how are you in the best way? You want to think when you're editing something as well as when you're taking videos or taking pictures, do it a couple of times. Check in with yourself. Make sure that you look the way that you want to look with your work. So, another use of the digital world is creating a resume. So, I created a sort of example resume. You may want to have a paper resume, and I would highly suggest that you do have a paper resume. This is so that you could either email it out or you could also hand it out at auditions. They are still a very helpful tool at auditions. So, you want to think about when you're making a resume that you have your name at the top, you have your address, your cell phone, and your email. And then this one I did as a teaching resume. So this is more specific. If you're thinking about dancing and you want to think about what kind of dance you're doing, if you're frequently going to commercial work or you're going to Broadway interviews, you may want to have to include your weight and your height over here. Give a couple other little, your hair color, your eye color, those things might need to be included on your resume. So being thinking and being thoughtful about what kind of audition you are going to, right? When I was working professionally, I had four different kinds of resumes that I would use, and depending on what kind of an audition I was headed to. So in this case, this is my teaching experience, then my choreographic experience, and then my professional company experience at the bottom. Generally, if you can, you want to try to keep your resume down to a page. If you're doing something more like a CV, then that would be a longer type of work, paperwork that is going to go more in depth. But your resume is kind of going to hit on those highlights and really try to keep it to a page. However, as we're discussing being in the digital age, you can also create a website or create sort of more of an online resume. So, what I am using right now in this whole thing is Google Sites. So, if you have a Google account, especially a Google Drive account, you can create a Google site and you can publish it to anyone that you wish. You can have it be restricted or you can have it be open to the public. So, this is a great way of being able to promote yourself as use of your resume. So, what I did here is basically I translated my paper resume onto the Google site. So, I did the same kind of idea, my name, my address, and those kinds of things. Especially if I'm using a digital version, I may want to have my social media handles here. That if it's going to be helpful. So, again, be very thoughtful about what kind of audition or what kind of information do you want to put out. And it depends on what kind of thing you're looking at performing or doing. I did include a picture and then I went through again sort of the exact same information. On the choreographic experience, I was able to add a video here. So this is what I would maybe want to add for a choreographic example. And then my professional company experience, same thing. I may want to include a video of my dancing in a professional setting, or I can keep it to the choreographic side of things. Another website building tool is Wix, and this is a free website building tool. You can create your own sort of template that you love and customize it. But this Google Sites was also pretty cool and interesting to use and very simple, especially having the Google Drive included. So, next, the idea of promotion. So, again, one of the things that you are really importantly thinking about when you're using social media as a promotion tool is keeping current. But the other thing is you want to think again as what kind of future do you want for your career? You really want to make sure that you are really, really conscious of what is being put out there. So, a couple of things that you probably already know how to use in terms of social media. TikTok is a great example for use as far as dance. Instagram is very, very big on being able to get yourself out there and being promoted. With Instagram, there is also the Instagram TV, which gives you the ability to be live or also having sort of a video footage for you on there. You can use Snapchat. You can use Facebook, which also, again, has that live feature. You can use YouTube or Vimeo. And with both of these, you can create these subscribers or the people who are going to who will allow you to actually possibly make a little bit of money from a YouTube channel or the YouTube live idea. And Twitter, also an important tool for promotion on social media. One thing you want to make sure that you're doing is, again, include your authentic self. Make sure that you are doing a little bit of who you are, because a social media platform is different than what we would see in a performance aspect alone. Then also, one other way that you can really kind of help yourself promote yourself is pay attention to what is happening. Find some people that to follow that you see either have a very strong following or also are somebody you have an affinity towards. They're going to be helpful with you understanding how to find your own voice in the social media aspect of your career. So go ahead and find somebody that really draws your feeling towards them, and you can help find what will help you with what you want to present online. Now, another idea to be conscious of is that when we're talking about the digital age, we're talking about being things being there forever. And it can be a weird thought that what you put out is going to stay there forever, because it seems like it's so right now. And it seems like it's hard to find once it's out there, once it's gone, once other people have added a whole bunch of other content, but it's there forever unless you go back and specifically remove things. So, how to protect yourself and then also how to decrease your digital footprint are something that we'll talk about at the end here. So, protecting yourself, make sure that you are keeping yourself up to date with some security aspects. You want to be thinking about having different programs that help protect you, that you are able to have antivirus programs so that it really is it's protecting you. Websites that have the HTTPS and with a padlock at the top, those are secure sites. So that's a helpful thing to have. But be very conscious that sometimes the HTTPS doesn't have the same kind of security. So you do need to check out, make sure that it is secure. If you click on the on the padlock, it should give the authentication for that site, and it should include the name of the site or the what you're looking at. You can also get a security token if possible. Okay, that's when you have the two-factor authentication. That is going to help you just increase your security when you have two ways that it needs to check in that it really is you. So those are a good way of checking in and making sure that you have increased security. Be really careful about what you download, right? So you want to be thoughtful about knowing the source of what you're downloading. You want to make sure that you're thoughtful about if you're downloading a game that you know for sure where it's coming from or that you aren't doing it too frequently. Those are always more potential for having viruses or having hackers get being able to get into your computer. You also want to make sure as often as possible you're using your own computer. This is important because with your computer, you're able to have increased security and you're able to protect your own personal self. So, the more that you can do that in using your own computer, will be really, really helpful. If you have to use another computer, make sure that you delete all of your temporary internet files and you want to clear all your history after you've logged off from your account so that there's no way of going back in and looking at what your search history was or what your actual history in terms of what you were doing, what you were looking at, as well as any of those files that you have that they've been taken away off the computer that you're working on. So don't just turn off a computer if you're using something else and leave it. You want to really make sure you go back and secure yourself by removing those things. Also, be really careful with wireless connections. I know it's so helpful and so easy to go into all these different places that provide free Wi Fi, but opening up yourself to free Wi Fi gives the potential of being targeted and being able to have people come in and start stealing your data. So you want to really make sure that you're not using it unless you are protected with a VPN, which is a virtual private network. That is a much more safe way of dealing with free Wi Fi. Don't respond to email requests for personal information. So, this is one of those that you want to really be careful about. This is an easy way for people to do phishing or for scams. This is one example here of a phishing email, and it looks exactly the way a valid PayPal security question would be framed. The one thing that you want to be really conscious of is a lot of time phishing scams or those who are trying to get into your information, those who are possibly using your computer to take over your computer, is that they're going to have poor grammar. That's one of the things that's sort of frequently discovered within phishing scams. So you want to check in with that, be really thoughtful about what you're looking at, and make sure that you don't click anything in an email that's like this. If you weren't expecting to have something come through like this, there are usually links that are clickable. If you click on them, that is likely going to be the way that a virus is brought into your computer or a hacker is able to get into your computer, that they're able to then draw out your data. So be really thoughtful and careful with that. Be very smart about your passwords. Make sure that you are using different passwords for every single account that you have. You want to be thoughtful about that it's difficult to discover what that password might be. The more that you can include symbols, numbers, capitals, and letters, that will help your password be a bit more secure. So be very careful and thoughtful about how you're doing that. The other thing to make sure of is make sure you log out completely. Again, even if it's just your phone, although it's more simple to just sort of close your computer or turn off your phone or just sort of close the tab, you want to make sure that you are logging off so that there isn't any possibility of someone coming in and trying to gain your information. They just want to make sure that you're protecting yourself. Keep updating your operating systems and your software, because the more up to date those are, the more frequent there are updates on keeping hackers out, and also making sure that um, your system is ready for dealing with anything that might happen. This is also still very important to you as a dancer or a aiming to put yourself out there. You want to make sure you're protecting yourself both from hackers, but also really being thoughtful and conscious about who is looking at your profile. Who are the people that are who are paying attention? Keep checking in with the lists of your followers so that you are aware. You might want to go check in with those followers and see who are they, who are the people who are watching you, who are taking a look at you. And when you're responding to people, it's both helpful because then it continues to help you get promoted and have your profile be more broadly used and distributed, but it also helps you protect yourself because you're able to know and keep up with the people that are following you and paying attention to you. So, the last little thing to kind of be thoughtful about is because we're using the internet so frequently, we also have so much that's out there. And there's a lot of stuff that we don't even think about. And we want to be thoughtful about decreasing our digital footprint as well as promoting ourselves. So don't really want a whole bunch of stuff that's still out there and is still available. We really want to be able to know exactly what it is that you have, and that you're being thoughtful about what exists that you may not want there anymore. So, decreasing that digital footprint, you may want to look at deleting or deactivating any social media or shopping accounts that you have that are no longer in use. So make a list of your accounts and see what you could eliminate. If you have 20 shopping accounts and really you only use one of them, delete all the rest and go in and deactivate those. That'll help you decrease that digital footprint. Remove yourself from data collection sites. You may need to go and request to be removed from data collection sites. But again, these are all things that are just help you decrease your footprint. The more that you can use stealth or incognito mode, that's when you go up and you can check private window. That's one of the ways that you can also decrease it, because you're not having your information be looked at, and all those other like pop-up things that wants to come up when you are looking. That's something that'll be avoided when you go in stealth or incognito mode. Deactivate any old email accounts. Similarly to the social media and the shopping accounts, the more that you can eliminate how many email accounts you have, that will be good. Maybe if you finish with school, you delete that account as opposed to letting it kind of linger and stay. Check in with your privacy settings. Make sure that your privacy settings are set to exactly what you want. Are your friends able to see your profiles? Is the public able to see your profile? How much information is being able to be seen? Any of those kinds of things are what you want to be checking in with your privacy settings. Add extensions or plugins, but also be very careful and thoughtful about adding extensions and plugins. Frequently, this one would be under the protecting yourself, because sometimes things can be hidden in extensions or plugins. So be careful, but this does help decrease your footprint. You can also use false or burner information, and that's so that you're not always having yourself out there. If you find that you're needing to sign up for something, maybe you give an email address that's specifically for just signing up for information about other things that you might want to know about. And you always know it'll go to that one. That will help protect you. And it can kind of be that where it's not your information constantly being out there. So it's both a protection as well as a decreasing of your footprint. And then click those surveys wisely. Make sure that you're not clicking every game or every survey. I know sometimes they're very fun, but you want to be very thoughtful about when you're clicking them. Because again, similarly to the protection, you want to make sure you are fully aware of what those things are that you're clicking. So, lastly, you want to make sure that this goes for if you receive a contract, as well as thinking about online. When you are online, there's always this new, when you're signing up for something new, terms and conditions. You want to check in and read the terms and conditions. Make sure you know what you're getting into. I hope that you had an enjoyable time figuring out a little bit about what you want to think about when you're looking at dancing within the digital world or the virtual world. How can you use it to your advantage? I want to join us next time for our next webinar. And thank you very much.